All right, guys, Ashera time, the Order Goddess. You know, I thought that was really weird because when I was running it in the thumbnail, I was like, Goddess of Order. And I checked back to like, wait a second, that doesn't sound right. I checked back to the trailer, it says Order Goddess. Like, really? Okay, Order Goddess it is. All right, debuting very, very soon with 37 HP, 35 attack, 39 speed, 15 defense, and 40 res. Super Banes and HP, attack, res, super boons in speed and defense. In other words, there's only really one super boon that you really want, speed, and you better hope you don't get a... Well, 19 defense is...
I mean, you can actually go plus defense if you want to use your tome effectively for that.
It's really pushing her.
Good.
There's not that much value to it. But speed's the one that really makes a big difference because at 39 speed, if you go super boon, 43 plus tome, 48 speed, that's not bad at all. Like, that's going to make stuff work.
Kind of fast.
Yeah.
I expect it to be slower.
Right. So but, as a whole, like, Ashera is actually pretty interesting. But
yeah.
My goodness, 166 BST. This is the advantage of being on the ground and not flying, because if she was a flying mage, that would have taken a good knock.
160, like 161 BST.
Right. And I really think she needed every point, considering her HP and defense are already so low. So it's better she's on the ground.
And her attack is pretty average too.
Right.
At only 35.
35.
Like, you'd think that a unit with a 17 might tome, that is a blade tome, would have more attack than 35. But, I mean, that's kind of what you get.
I think that's how they decide to compensate. In other words, you never want to switch off Order Sentence, which, by the way, if anyone did, what are you doing?
You can't.
Oh, you can't?
You
oh,
can't
yeah, because she's colorless.
You could give her like a generic,
but it wouldn't make sense.
Give her Atlas.
Yeah,
Stone,
it would not make sense. Yeah.
Stone is the best.
Okay. But with that said, they compensated by giving Order Sentence like 14 might, attack plus 3. And of course, if you have bonuses or, well, if she's over 25% plus 5 all stats, and if you have bonuses on your ally within 2 spaces, even more attack. So her attack being lower actually fits really well. So it's really interesting in the respect of they actually really took a crap on her HP, her attack. Her attack's not that bad, but it did, like, it was like you would expect a new gen hero to be slightly higher than 35 attack nowadays, right? So
yeah. Like, even Dual Byleth, for example, is sitting at 36 attack, despite having 42 speed.
Despite being nearly a year old at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on the other hand, it does put you on par with Guinevere, but... Well, that's something to know for later.
Right.
But, still...
But this
for the fact that it's also a Super Bane, that's the interesting part.
Right. This is a hard hero to just get one copy of and be satisfied, because you could really easily find yourself quite upset.
Yep. If you don't get minus defense, you're probably going to want to merge.
If you get minus defense and pretty much plus anything, like that'd be fine. But if you don't get that, then the Bane is usually going to hurt.
So. Yeah.
Even minus HP, 30.
Yeah, even that
HP.
hurts.
That's the thing. HP scares me the most.
That HP could be low for a modern unit. If
33
you want
HP, yeah, that's like base Nino level, like without Resplendent. So.
Right.
Yep.
Well, at the very least, she can reach 170 BST, and because she is a Mythic hero, she doesn't exactly get, you know, extra points in terms of scoring, right? So
yeah, I mean, you would have to run C Duel anyways.
If you're serious about it, yeah.
But not that that's particularly worrisome for anybody who cares, because realistically, you would never use Ashera in Arena.
Realistically, I would say. I mean, if you're a whale with a plus 10 Ashera, that's an option.
Yeah. You still probably want C Duel though.
Right, of course. All right. All that said, this is a hero you can really easily be upset about because of all the Banes and boons, ideally plus speed. So that's kind of upsetting. Now, recapping on her kit: Ordnance Sentence, attack plus 3 at start of combat if unit's HP is over 25%, or bonus is active on unit. Attack speed, defense res plus 5 to unit during combat, and grants bonus to unit's attack during combat. Those total bonuses on ally with the highest total bonuses within 2 spaces, i.e. if they have plus 6 to all stats, it's 24 extra attack for Ashera. But her criteria is one of the worst ones I've ever seen. Worst as in, like, why don't you just write 0? Like, it's guaranteed.
Literally, it's... Why would you even call it criteria anymore?
It's not really a criteria, right? HP over 25%, she's going to do that really easily. But the other part is like bonuses. She gets bonuses so easy because of Order's Restraint, which is at start of turn grants attack res
relatively easy.
+6 and null panic to allies within 2 spaces for 1 turn. At start of turn, if 3 or more allies are within 2 spaces of unit, grants attack res +6 and null panic to unit for 1 turn. I know it's relative, but like that's practically free.
Yeah, and it's any buff, so even if it's not herself that generates the buff, you could literally just have an ally do it. Like, for all intents and purposes, Order Sentence just is. Like, it just is going to be there. There's nothing you can really do about it.
I agree. The 3 most interesting things I found about her was just like her ability to generate a ton of damage, which I find really important. For a hero like... Now, I'm not saying she's going to beat a hero like Fallen Edelgard straight up, but with
Maybe with no follow-up.
Yeah, maybe with no follow-up, because she still has to get through to 40% damage reduction. But if you have a hero that can break the 40% damage reduction and survive, then Ashera can finish it off. That's what I see.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is, if Edelgard is getting that damage reduction in the first place, she'll counter. And if it's a bonfire proc, no Ashera is going to live that. That's the one thing. But if she can double with no follow-up, there's no Edelgard that can live either. So that's worth noting.
Right, and I've actually heard about this, people discussing this, because she actually has a fair amount of speed, and Fallen Edelgard's on a lot of people's minds. People are talking about putting Wind Sweep on her, and I think that's not a bad idea.
Not at all, actually. I mean, we'll see how Aether Raid's defense Edelgard plays out, because I don't think it's actually going to be that popular in the long run. But for things like that, like Savior Balls in particular, Wind Sweep actually might work just fine, considering that Ashera hits so hard as it is.
That's the thing, because I think she gets the kill in one shot in most scenarios, but if it doesn't happen, that Wind Sweep will protect her and save her low defense, right? Like, she wouldn't need to worry that much if she has Wind Sweep.
Exactly. I think that
still
actually
think
might
that-
be the best.
Yeah, it could work, but I still think that if you want to use her for her general role as being kind of a nuke who can actually sustain magical damage, something like keeping low speed res or going for like null C even against like staff units like Veronica that are pretty common, could work for her. It's just a question of whether you want to specialize her a little bit more or just solidify her, whatever role you want as an anti-magic unit.
The only thing with low speed res is that the buff meta in Aether Raid's defense is not particularly prominent at the moment. So you will not get a lot of mileage out of that in a lot of popular Aether Raid's defense teams. On the other hand, any other C slot, B slot, no follow-up, no C, Wind Sweep, they'll all have some form of value, realistically. But it's just a matter of how much you want to actually invest into Ashera as a unit that is a mythic to make her a more specialized carry of some sort.
So here's what I see she's really good at. I mentioned earlier, really good tank buster, does a lot of damage, but also from the respect of supporting your team, attack res +6 is guaranteed now. So if you run her, you wouldn't really need a, like, that's the thing we were kind of lacking for Aether Raid's offense for Astro Season, just guaranteed attack res +6 or something like that. Because at least Peony came with like 4 or 5 res, right? So like +7 res. But now it's even better because it's attack res +6 guaranteed and null panic as well. So great support.
Yep.
But aside from that, just in respect of, she's actually really good against cav lines, I would say. Magical opponents like Reinhardt just bounce off of her. If you decide, like, this is why I think she's so interesting, because she is a specialist in a lot of ways. She's a support hero who can also be a specialist. So if you give her Null Sea Disrupt, now she's beating the Veronicas. If you give her Wind Sweep, now she can beat like Fallen Edelgard and like Vector and whatnot. Like, it's interesting what you can do with her. So there's a lot of utility, and she definitely replaces Altina in most teams, I would say, because Altina really, in comparison, doesn't offer anything close to what Ashera
Not with
does.
Reagan. Not with Reagan, because Reagan and Altina are both attack mythics. Why would you go Altina for attack when you can just use Reagan?
Right.
Thus, it comes down to the unit, and why use Altina when you use Ashera?
Right.
Yeah, and res is so valuable in Aether Raids that getting 5 extra res can really help, especially if you're running, a classic tank like Vector, or just any tank in general, especially, like Vector, Spurn tank, that kind of thing will really appreciate the res.
I think that is probably one of the biggest things for me when it comes to Ashera. Astra had no res mythics for some reason. It was the only It was the only stat that wasn't covered in Aether Raid's mythics. So having a res mythic now for Astra season, given the prominence of Mages in defense, no matter what, it's huge for all tanks to have Ashera as a partner, if
Yeah.
you want to have a tank. And even then, Order's Restraint gives an extra 6 res, and you can have it panicked, which is just even better for his tank support. So, at the bare minimum, Ashera is amazing tank support, regardless of her unit potential.
Right.
So it's expanding on that as far as like a first copy. The first copy of Ashera is the most valuable copy simply because it's not just 5 res and 5 HP. It's, unless you're going up against a lull, 11 res, 6 attack, and 5 more HP. And then once you get any further copies, those are either merges or just an additional 5 res and 5 HP.
Yep.
So
I think you want
of
one
those
Order's
things where-
Restraint at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can get an Ashera, I think that is absolutely enormous because of Order's Restraint, because of the res mythic. So, even though the merge is ideal, because realistically, Ashera herself is a great unit, and almost all IVs besides minus defense hurt. Getting that merge would be great for her potential, but it's not necessary because of her support potential.
And on the subject of her defense, if you want to shore that up a bit more and go for plus defense, especially if you want to be able to make her actually reach the score range if you're going to go for merges, it's not the worst idea. Sure, she doesn't have a lot of defense, I will acknowledge that, but being able to take a hit is still something that's going to be a little bit better.
It's literally pushing her to her limits.
Yeah, with 37 HP, it's
37,
literally
15.
you're literally pushing it at most to like maybe one
Nowhere.
hit from a general unit.
So just really quickly mathing out, 37 plus 15 is 52 bulk. Super Boon is 56. Order Sentence 61. You're barely. I mean, you're going to be lucky to survive something.
You run like Sturdy Impact usually with those kinds of builds, which would put you up to like 70. And with the anti-follow-up, I guess you'll be able to live a shot from most units. But as mentioned before, the Wind Sweep build is just so much safer.
Yeah, that's what I would rather do if you're going to worry about her defense.
Yeah, like, I expect to see defense-oriented Asheras, don't get me wrong, but even compared to, like, defense-based Marianne, it's not as good.
Right.
It's too risky.
You could even go, like, Water Sleep Ashera if you're just trying to counter, like, the Saros with distant counter, and if you don't have anything for that.
Oh, yeah, because Saros would target her defense, so you could run Water Sweep.
Right.
Mystic Boost Seal can actually be pretty nice for her.
Exactly. Though it's a heavily contested seal is the only thing.
Yes, that's true.
So.
Okay. All right. So going back to it, I really think it's just her B slot that's really flexible. Mystic Boost, I like Mystic Boost. I like Nullsea Disrupt. I like Wind Sweep. I obviously like Lull Speed Res. It's up to the player to decide which one they want to focus on. But in terms of everything else, obviously don't switch Order's Restraint. Obviously Glacies can be switched over to even something as simple as Glimmer or Iceberg or whatever. Like, that's fine as well. It's more about attack res ideal, whether you want to switch off of that or not. And I would say no, because that's what makes her really unique in what she can do. Because that's a lot of extra attack and a lot of extra res.
Ideals for units that self-generate buffs are probably just some of the best save slots to use in general.
No, I fully agree with that. Yeah, I still think she's going to use it well. Yeah.
Like Mel Morgan.
Very effective.
Well, yeah, Mel Morgan is excellent for it.
All right. But yeah, in terms of that, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's really nice we got a hero like her. But let's put her into comparisons, because direct comparisons are few. Are there even 5 close tome units? Zane,
only 3 others. Well, technically 4 others.
I think she's the 5th.
Like
and Summoner.
Like that doesn't even really count. But yeah, true.
Half a unit.
Take your pick, because realistically, none of these colorless mages are really worth comparing.
Yeah, because she's the first fast colorless mage. That's the reality of it. I guess Zane and Summoner are the closest things, but they don't even make sense in that respect. One isn't a true unit, and the other one takes somebody else's stats, so what the heck?
Well, the Summoner has 4 more HP, equal attack, 4 less speed, 13 more defense, and 12 less res.
I can't believe we just compared the Summoner.
I can't either.
Right. Okay, what are more realistic options? People bring her all the time. I think Guinevere is the most realistic option.
Yeah, I'll do Guinevere.
Well, I've got the stats pulled up.
Hold on, just real quick with Zane. Zane has 10 more HP, equal attack, equal speed, equal defense, and equal res, because it doesn't matter.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. All right, so for stat comparisons with Guinevere, Guinevere has 1 less HP, equal attack, 1 more speed, 1 more defense, and 2 less res for 1 less BST.
Okay.
Somehow managed to go lower in BST.
You know, it's funny because they're actually very comparable. Except Ashera's like anti-everything, and Guinevere is mostly anti-mages.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to set up
Yeah.
Ashera. That's the only caveat there, but they're close enough.
Yeah, no, Guinevere is probably the most accurate comparison possible. Pent for greens has 3 more HP, 3 more attack, equal speed, 4 more defense, but then 10 less res.
Yeah.
Yes, chat. I can see you spamming Yune. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I think Yoon's probably the best one, not because of direct comparisons, just because canonical reason.
Yeah, well, for Yoon's sake, fun fact, Yoon has the lowest defense among mage flyers, and in that regard, Yoon has 1 more HP, 2 less attack, 12 less speed, equal defense, and 3 less res.
With 16 less BST than
Right.
All going to speed.
That sucks so much ass. Wow.
It's all in Yoon's speed. Granted, Yoon has follow-up, though.
That really irks me because Yoon, I think at this point, is ending up as one of the worst defensive mythics. Like,
And it's not even like she's a terrible unit. It's just there's not much.
what is the
uniques.
point of her anymore? Like, I don't understand it.
She's not really unique.
debuff support.
Yeah, but
I guess.
much
But
better
she,
with the buffers
I
now.
mean, she's a green mage with nanofob who still dies to Vector.
Okay,
so-
but the reality is just like having over 15 difference in BST is just wow. Like they were supposed to have this great war against each other when one was clearly like in Fae anyways, they're clearly not competitive against each other.
one of them lost.
Yeah, well yeah, clearly one of them lost.
And I mean, not to mention the fact that Yoon's a bird, but yeah, no. It's all in the speed, which Yoon compensates with follow-up, but their perks really do differ.
Alright.
Massive differences.
Marianne has 1 less HP, 6 more attack, 7 less speed, 2 more defense, and 1 less res.
Wow. Okay, so they're really comparable.
Mind
Close
if I
enough.
take care of Fallen Julia as well?
By
That's
all
7
means.
speed change, yeah, mostly.
Yeah, but mostly for attack. That's why Marianne has raw attack.
Yep.
Right.
So the comparison with Fallen Julia, as a note, Fallen Julia has 5 less BST, but she has 2 more HP, 6 more attack, 15 less speed, 2 more defense, and equal res.
Wow, that's actually a pretty good comparison. So again, speed being like swapped around for HP and attack, but that's interesting.
I have one more comparison that I'd like to make, thanks to a chatter. Urk has 1 less BST, and he has 8 more HP, the same attack, the same speed,
Wow.
4 more defense, and 13 less res.
Okay. That makes sense.
Res. Not as a comparison, but just for some perspective's sake, Ashera is one of the fastest mages in the game, only slower than 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mages.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So
Well, only 10.
she's top almost top 10 in terms of speed
Yeah, basically. She
for mages.
barely. Yeah. Beaten by Spring Severa, Winter Bernie, Guinevere herself, New Year's Peony, of all things. Winter Nino, Young Merrick, Pledgian Tharja, Asbel, Summer Female Violet, and Pledgian Katarina. Those are the only units faster than Ashera, which actually gives her pretty solid speed tier. And as for her res stat, being so astronomically high, she has the highest res among mages. Tied with Ileana, Fallen Julia, Legendary Lilina, and Valentine's Henriette.
I did just come across one more mage that's workable, I guess, for comparison's sake.
Alright.
This mage, as a note, has 15 less BST, but it's still fairly comparable.
That
2
being
less HP, equal attack, 11 less speed, 3 more defense, and 5 less res. Micaiah,
Oh. We're using non-resplendent stats?
non-resplendent stats, yes. If we're using resplendent stats, then it's 5 less BST, And at that point, it would be equal HP, 2 more attack, 9 less speed, 5 more defense, and 3 less res.
Not bad.
No. Needless to say, though, Ashera holds up. Third lowest defense in all mages. All I gotta say.
All right, chat. Let me know what you guys think about Ashera. So for me, I would go for her if I could, because I really think if I didn't have a +1 Altina, I'd go for this a lot harder, but it would be very difficult for me. I can't replace Naga. I have multiple merges on Naga. I can't really replace Altina because I have multiple merges on Altina. Replacing Regen with her just doesn't make much sense, and I wouldn't replace Plumeria. But ideally, I think if you could, your team would look like Plumeria, Ashera, and Regen. That's what I think you could ideally set up a team. And Naga for the special reasons when you need anti-dragons.
Or if you just want to set up a tank.